What's going on, everybody? I'm Scott Oots. Today, I actually have two people in here with me. Well, one and a half. I've got Mike Yanker from the REI Masters, and I have Aaron Anderson, one of our acquisition agents in California. Yesterday, these two teamed up and went on an appointment, went on an adventure down towards LA area. Was that right?
Anaheim.
Close enough, half the distance.
Yeah.
So you were gone for 5 hours and you went 30 minutes? How many bars did you stop at?
None.
Wow.
No. One or two, though.
You've come a long
Got
way.
pretty close.
You've come a long
Pretty
ways.
close.
Because I had to come back because I had another seller here waiting for me to
Oh, yeah.
sign
Right.
another contract on two
All
other
right, don't give it away.
Oh,
Don't
okay.
give it away.
Got
So these two took off to go on an appointment yesterday over in Anaheim.
Mm-hmm.
So the way our team works, so we are very team oriented, right? So looked at this appointment. It was actually on his calendar, and he said, "Man, I think this one here I'm really going to need some assistance with, right? So I need to pull out the big guns. I need to ask Mike to come along with me." Mike likes to do that every now and then anyway, just because it lets him keep the sales reps fresh and keeps them on their toes a little bit. But these two took off yesterday to go to this appointment, and let's just throw it out there. Ultimately, this came back in a contract, right?
Correct.
Now, was it just that easy? We just walked in, boom, they signed, you guys walked out?
No.
How long was it from leaving the office to getting back?
About 5 hours.
About
5
that. Yeah,
hours.
we left at like 12:30, and then we got back just before 5 o'clock. So, I mean, when we went there, from the start of the phone call, I could see that this was something that needed to be looked at urgently.
Let's
And-
talk about that. So what is
Yeah.
it that the seller said that made you think this needed to be looked at as, I need to get there right now?
Well, I was tipped off about it because of our leads team. So it sent out, put on my calendar, and immediately they were like, "This is a warm lead. You should really look at it." And I asked them, "Should I call them sooner than the time, or do they want me to call them specifically?" They were like, "Call them as soon as possible." So I did, and all we talked about was, well, we built rapport and made friends and all of that stuff. But he kept on saying that they're going to be leaving town soon, that they want this amount, and I just thought, okay, this is perfect. You know, it needs to be pounced on. We always
So he
talk about
gave
that.
you a price. He said, hey,
He-
this is what I want.
Close, but then he kept going up. Like when I started to tell him that I'd be out there and we would make this happen, and he said, "Well, I'm not going to take the first offer. If I was going to do that, it'd have to be something crazy." And then he started going up and up and up because I want to make sure that we got there first. And so when I did that, that's when he tried to pull back a little bit, and then I went over to Mike immediately, and I was like, "This has got to be a deal."
So all this was over the phone.
Right. This
You're
first
talking
part
to
was-
him over the phone.
Right.
So with our company, we always try to close things over the phone if we can. However, when we're in person is when we get the larger spreads on deals. So if we have a seller that is ready to sign, right? I mean, we want them to sign right away. If it's DocuSign, fantastic. But Aaron saw a need to get in front of these people. So this guy's literally saying, "I've got to go," right? So then what'd you do next? So you see this guy saying, basically, "Aaron, come to my house
Right.
and make me sell it right now."
Yeah.
What'd you do next?
I put it on mute. I walked over to Mike's office. I was like, "This has got to be a deal. We need to look at this right now, and I want to make sure that we get it." So that's, maybe I could have done it myself, but I didn't want to leave it to chance. It was so obvious that this should have been done yesterday, that if it had been put off at all, I went over to Mike and I just had it on mute, and I was like, "Okay, listen to this guy talk. Let's figure out how we get in front of him." And basically we led it to where we'd be meeting him in like an hour and a half from when we were on the phone with him. So tried to get on it immediately so that we were the first people there, and that he was the only ones that we were going to see, but that didn't happen. He ended up seeing someone else, but we'll get there.
So Aaron built really good rapport with the guy. As soon as he came into my office on speakerphone, he had amazing rapport already built with him. So the conversation was flawless. Now, his number that he wanted worked all day for us. But that could easily get messed up, or that number could easily change. So a lot of rookies and new sales guys, and Aaron has come across this before, our leads team doing phenomenal job, phenomenal. Reach out to Aaron and say, "Hey, we have a hot lead. Here's his price. He's ready to sell." Okay, well, rookie sales guys, acquisitions guys, they say, "Oh man, I'm going to get this signed right now." And here's what they forget to do. They forget to follow the process, and they screw the entire deal up. So the easiest deals that when you get the lead and you think this is the easiest lead that I've ever got, the best lead I've ever got, that's when you're going to throw the whole deal apart because you're going to jump forward and try to close the deal before you follow the process. It doesn't work.
Let's stop and talk about that for just a second. So, not following the process, right? So, when I started this company a little over 5 years ago now, so we've been building processes, tearing the processes down, rebuilding the processes, tearing them down, rebuilding the processes. And so we spent so much time building, making better, just changing stuff over and over again because every company should be changing. So Mike spent a lot of time really spending one-on-one time with each of his team members, spending time in sales meetings with his team members, making sure that our processes are set where they need to be. And when there's a change that needs to occur, so Mike and I are in communication, probably more than we'd like to be, actually. As much as I enjoy talking to you from my pillow, over the phone, that is.
That's a good
But,
distinction.
hey.
Good distinction.
But as much as I love doing that, I mean, it's good to change these processes. You have to do it. So he's got his sales team knowing the process so much that they're not doing what he just mentioned, right? On occasion. But he mentioned, if you try to hurry through, you think it's a slam dunk, you screw it up. Mm-hmm. That's it. But his team's got this down so good that they're able to take this process, follow it every step of the way, and then insert Mike where they need to if that time comes. Mm-hmm. So I hear advice happen all day long. These guys walk into Mike's office, hey, can you help me out with this deal? They have a seller literally on the phone, on mute. Hey, this is where I'm at. I need your help closing this. Mike, one thing he's very good at is just inserting himself right into a conversation without knowing all the background, right? The seller's on mute, just talking up a storm. Aaron's filling Mike in, 30-second, just filling him in. Hey, this is what's going on. This is what the lady wants. This is why I think it's urgent. This is why I think it's a deal. Boom, on mute. He says something to the seller, mutes again. Mike's like, try this. Nope, okay, try this. Try this. The seller has no idea. We basically have a whole team in the background trying to help them get through that phone call. But that's one thing that we do really well as a team is helping them get through these deals. Well, it might be Aaron's deal, right? The whole team will step in and help if needed to try to help get the thing done because that's for the best of the company. So let's talk about you guys going to the appointment. So you grab Mike, you hop in the car. Mike throws away his afternoon to go do this because it's that important. So
yeah, it was great. One last thing to touch on what you were talking about there is the reason why in a situation like this that he would come to me is because we don't just try to get deals. We try to get massive spreads on every single deal.
Yeah.
So that's what separates us, I think, as our team mentality, our sales mentality, and what we bring to the table is we want to get every deal, but at the biggest spread possible. And sometimes that takes teamwork.
let's just clarify. So for you guys that are newer, so when he mentions spreads, he's talking about the wholesale fee of the deal. So what we lock it up at, and then what we assign it to a buyer at. We assign everything. So that amount in between is your wholesale spread. So that's what he's referring to when he talks about spreads.
And we like to make money.
Big spreads.
We do.
So yeah, we hop in the car and we get there a little bit early and nice people right away. Built rapport with the husband. He already had rapport. Mm-hmm. Very just seamless transaction from the phone call to the in-person appointment. The wife happened to be in a back room and didn't come out and greet us, so we kind of thought that would be a roadblock. Mm-hmm. Also, the husband said a few things that maybe gave us the idea that she wouldn't be really ready to move forward right then and now, right? Right. Another thing that was a little bit off guard to us is Aaron had told me the house was vacant. Well, the house was clearly not vacant. Right. They were living there. Mm-hmm. They've lived there for 40 years, and there is so much stuff in that house.
He wasn't. She was. She'd been living there alone for 6 years. I thought that it was vacant, but he'd been gone. He was in Jacksonville.
So that kind of threw us for a loop a little bit, but that's just, that doesn't necessarily matter on getting the deal, but it was different than what we thought, right? So now that changed things, because if the wife is living there and she's not ready to move, that's going to be a big roadblock. If it was
change
vacant,
the timeline.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And if it was vacant, then it's an easy deal.
Yeah.
So this went from an easy deal to now not so easy anymore. Well, we walked through. On tandem appointments, most of the time when I go with the sales guy, they do all the talking up front. Almost all the talking up front is by them. And I just kind of sit back and listen and smile and compliment. That's all I say the entire time is just little compliments here and there, and they do all the talking. Walking through the house, he's building rapport with them, and he takes us out to his back patio, which is fully enclosed, and he has a little chair where he sits, probably daily or whatever he does now that he's back in town. And next to his chair is a little table with a stack of flyers from investors. And I know plenty of those investors that were on there. And, they do some stuff where they throw very high numbers out there and can't really come through with it.
Right.
So right away I said, okay, so this house is not vacant. And he's already talked to many investors.
Right.
So who knows where we're at right now. This thing went from a slam dunk to, wow, this is going to be a hard close.
Yeah.
So, walked through the house. Aaron didn't see that at first. That's okay, because he was building rapport, so my job was to look for clues. The wife finally comes out. At first, she was a little dry, and it was kind of hard to build rapport.
A little bit.
But then something changed, and I think it was when I mentioned Max, their cat. It's like, you seen Max?
She did participate, like whenever the cat was brought up, because I asked about that too. I asked about the cat tree and hadn't seen him yet, but when I did that, she went on about him for like a minute as we were leaving the room. So that probably was
So
it.
this is a really good point to bring up. So we talk about rapport building. In my other videos, you guys have probably seen it. Rapport building is number one at these appointments.
Yeah.
And if you've got someone that's quiet like this, hiding because they just don't want to have this conversation, what these guys did so well is they look for that thing that she potentially really likes, right? When you're in the house, you're not looking at if the bathroom needs remodeled. You're not spending time on that, right? You do glance at it, but you're looking at family pictures. You're looking at stacks of papers from other investors, and they kept those. That to me says, hey, I want to sell this house, or those would have been in the garbage.
Right.
So looking at these things and finding the cat, potentially, that she loves, and she's like, oh, I want to talk about this. They found something that she is passionate about and was able to start a conversation with her.
The other thing is, you don't know what that may be. It could be grandchildren, it could be sports, it could be antiques, it could anything. And you just keep trying until you find the one that breaks the ice. And the cat ended up breaking the ice. So she comes out. There's not room to sit in the house because there's a lot of stuff in the house. So kind of awkward setup to how we were sitting down. But once we go through the walkthrough, and we try to prolong that as much as possible, because the walkthrough isn't about walking through the house and looking at the house. The walkthrough is about building rapport, talking to the sellers, finding clues, finding items that they want to discuss and talk about and what makes them comfortable. When all that's done, it's time to sit down and really be comfortable and make it feel like you are part of the family. Right? So we sat on the couch. She had to stand up, which we offered her many times to sit in one of our places, but she wanted to stand. So we're at a part now where rapport's there. We know they're selling. We know their timeline, which happened to be 3 weeks, which is phenomenal.
Right.
Because if by looking at the house, I would have guessed that they needed 3 months.
Yeah, no way.
But they need to get out of here. So now we sit down. Conversation's good. It's lighthearted. We're having fun. When we go to appointments, we don't talk about strategy up front because anything could happen. And I don't want a sales guy to go into an appointment thinking I'm going to do this, and that doesn't work, and they forget.
So there's something to add on to that that's really important, but I wanted to say it earlier too, is it's assumptions. If you talk about something that you're going to do and you plan to do something a very specific way, you're assuming that that's how it's going to go. So how it was when we first got the call, when they first told me that it was going to be a great lead, the rookie thing is to assume that it's going to go smooth and it's going to be easy and you're going to get the deal and all of that. It's easy to assume that, but by doing so and planning something out and having this schedule or thing that you want to have happen, it will never work like that. It will never
assumptions
work
always
like
create
that.
problems.
Always.
I just actually had this conversation this morning about assumptions with Cody behind the camera right now. So, Cody, what did I say to you about assumptions? And feel free to use the words.
What was it? It's the death of...
Assumptions are the mother of all fuck-ups. So I gave
Mother
Cody
of
that lesson this morning.
Well, apparently he didn't retain it.
Apparently he didn't. That's what I'm going to start doing with him now. I'm going to start testing him to see if he remembers.
I did have a good one yesterday.
That was yesterday.
Yeah,
on
true,
Tuesday.
true.
man.
New day,
Come
always
on, what have you
striving
done
Oh,
for us
yeah.
lately?
All right, so you're sitting down, you're talking,
Yep.
she's standing up. So when someone's standing up like this too, when you guys look at body language, now she may not have had a place to sit, so that might have made a difference. But a lot of times when someone's standing up and they won't sit, or they're doing this, it's just a very closed off thing. So we always like to sit down as much as possible. He said, like, make yourself at home, right? You guys are like a family having a conversation at that point. Don't stand up and try to give an offer to someone. Don't stand up and do that. Sit down, get comfortable. A lot of times they'll offer you a beverage. Take it. You may not want to have a beverage in some of these houses. Take it, right?
Always.
Do something like that because that shows the person that, hey, you're just relaxed, sitting down, having a conversation.
She actually offered us water and we took it. So there you go.
Was it clear?
I believe so.
Okay.
However, we were wearing our mask and we were trying to fit. It worked out pretty well because we
Right.
were wearing our masks and we were trying to drink the water. And I'm cracking a joke like, I'm not really sure. They're like, take that thing off. So we're laughing, we're having a good time, just like we are right now, right? And that's how you want it to be at an appointment. If you can't make that happen, whew, you're gonna have a hard time closing that deal. The only next thing really is to talk about price. But the one thing I told Aaron on the way there is we are not bringing a price. That's the only conversation we had about this before we got there. I am hammering the date. I want to build that timeline even more intense than it already was for them. So I kept going back to the time frame. July 6th, July 6th, July 6th. Pull up the calendar. Okay, July 6th is a Monday. Does that work for you? Yeah, because it'll take us 3 days to get to Florida driving. We need to be there by the 9th, so the 6th is the last day we could leave. Again, if you assume that because they need to leave, and you assume that you could get them to have a 3-week time frame for closing, you're going to assume and you're going to screw it up again. So we want to hammer that, get them a hard date in their head that they are gone by. Now that ensures that they actually sell the house very, very quickly. They have to make a decision very quickly if we have 3 weeks from today for them to close, right? They have to sell. The way that Aaron got us to the appointment over the phone was by saying, hey, I understand that you won't take the first offer, but what can we do to make this work for you? And he said,
For
look,
you. That's really important. For you. Not how do we get this deal? How do we make this work? How do we do this for you? That's really important. You made that distinction to me a long time ago. For you.
yeah, it's for them. It's not for
Always.
us.
Always.
It's what works best for them. And when
Right.
you ask them what works best for you, they actually tell you. So we're talking about time frame. Now they want to talk about money. And we have to knock her socks off for them to take our offer. Right. Originally over the phone, seller was at $450. So they went up 20 grand from the time of the phone call until the time we got there. But we don't want to overpay. We want big spreads. So that's what the husband wanted, was $470.
Right.
Now she would not give us a number. And now here's where negotiations come into play. She would not give us a number, and she said, if I gave you a number, I would be stupid to do that because then you know what I want, and maybe you'll offer me more. I love that one. So I said, well, you're right, actually, Sue, because I was going to offer you $1 million, but your husband only wants $470. So this is great.
Yeah.
And then she laughed and countered back with, well, $500,000 would work. So now,
Bam.
$450 on the phone. Husband wants $470 in person. Wife wants $500 in person. Now here's the kicker. Curveball. We never knew
Out
it was
of
coming.
nowhere. Out of nowhere.
As we're talking about this, and we aren't given a price, husband says, "Oh boy, I failed to mention to you that I have another investor coming at 2:00."
Yeah.
And that's about 12 minutes away. So now the price is only going up, and our time with the seller is shrinking very, very drastically.
Right.
Now we are in crunch time and panic mode if you don't make the right move.
Right. Yeah.
So let's set that up. So you got another guy coming in 12 minutes. Clock is ticking. Basically, he either tries to lock this up right now or finds a way to postpone this.
Yeah.
So what'd you do?
When he said that the guy was coming in 12 minutes, we completely just ignored it. We didn't even acknowledge it. We didn't even go down that avenue because I needed time to think. So
I just would have told him to close the blinds and lock the door and act like it were not.
Right. Yeah.
So now, we're trying to prolong the conversation and poke for price. I'm trying to see if they would move forward with us right now and sign before the guy got there. possibly at the 470,
Mm-hmm.
right? Trying to get out of the wife, would 470 work for you? She finally said yes, but now we're 6 minutes away from 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
When she said we're good at 470, and then she puts it back on us. Well, can you guys do 470?
Right.
So now I can't commit to saying yes or no because we have 5 minutes until the guy knocks on the door. And if I say yes, 470, the guy comes and offers $5,000 more, and we lose the deal.
Done.
Right? If I say no to 470, she's going to think that we can't pay 470.
Right.
So what did I do? Didn't answer.
Right.
Just said, well, Sue, I think we could probably make that work for you.
We're gonna find out a way to make that work for
Yeah,
you. Is what he was saying.
find
we
a way.
gotta, we got to do some numbers. Why don't you meet with this guy and we'll. He mentioned that I didn't eat yet, that he did because I was very hungry. He said we'll go grab some lunch. You meet with this guy and then we'll come back. Didn't ask if we can come back. Said we will come back. And one thing that helped here, and you were saying why you made that decision, was because the sellers were mentioning that this other guy had called and he begged to come. He begged that they let him come because he was the first person that called and all of this stuff. And so they were trying to keep their word and all of that, which, you know, Mike, we let him do.
Well, it didn't sit well with them, that the other guy. So that's
Right.
that played a big factor into deciding to leave to lunch and come back because the guy was very pushy to them. And when the husband had mentioned how pushy this guy was over the phone to come and not sign with us, it didn't sit well with him. And then the wife responded to that negatively as well. So
Right.
then at that point I said, look, there's no way we could force a close within 5 minutes and we're going to overpay now. So the best route is to say, hey, take your time. Aaron hasn't eaten lunch yet. We'll grab some lunch and we'll come back. How long do you need? Oh, probably about an hour. So there was no asking, can I come back? It's, hey, we're going to go. We'll go grab bites to eat. We'll be back in an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So now we see, here's the facts. You have a stack of paperwork of investors. We have a guy coming right now. We didn't agree to a price with them. And now we're leaving the house with another investor walking in.
But you also gave them a solution, right? You gave them that next step. And a lot of times that's what sellers want. They want that next step. And
Right.
we go to leads calling in with us, right? If we don't answer the phone, they're going to keep calling other people.
Oh, yeah.
If we get them booked into an appointment, with phone appointment with our reps right away, they feel like they solved something and they'll stop for the time being. So at that point, yes, someone else is coming, but you built great rapport. They already mentioned they don't want this guy to even really be there. And now you have a plan to come back in an hour. So you put a timeline on this guy's appointment as well. What happened next? So you guys leave at that point?
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
all the pros. You mentioned all the pros, which we nailed. The cons are this guy comes in, and the company that we knew that we thought it was
Always.
loves to offer a lot of money. So they could have just destroyed us in price. Okay, so we leave, and the second we close the front door, Aaron is freaking out. He is as soon as the front door closes,
Mike, I have to know what's going on in your head right now. I have to know why you made that decision.
Why are we leaving?
What are we doing?
What is going on? What are you
I
thinking?
was so confused because we always say, "Do not leave without a contract. Never leave." Because then once you're out that door, the chances of getting that deal, it goes down to like 1%. We say like 10, 11%, but it's almost you never get that deal if you leave. So
So you guys are
it was
leaving.
so crazy.
You went to a gas station. Aaron changed his underwear, cleaned up. He brought himself, composed himself, right? You have some lunch. You guys obviously talk about it. Now it's time to start heading back.
So we head back, go into the house. They had the door open for us. We walk in. It's as comfortable as the first time we were there. The atmosphere was very, very good. So I had figured, wow, we're in a great position. They didn't sign with the guy. They let us come back. They're offering us back into the house. And the first thing they tell us was, wow, that guy was really, really lacking confidence. And we feel so much better to go with you guys.
Yeah.
So now we're having an open conversation. They trust us.
They're
We're
talking
confident.
bad about him, which is
Talking
fantastic.
bad about him.
They said he was nice. They just said that it seemed that he lacked the experience that we had.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
but-
that's a positive for us, though.
Right.
So now, on the way back, Aaron said, well, how are we going to get around the price of $470? That's too high. We don't want to pay that. So we get there. We're having a nice conversation. In this conversation, they mentioned that previous gentleman offered $475. $475. So now, the price is going up once again. don't mention anything about the 475 at all. We didn't mention it at all. We'll just keep the conversation going. Now I go back to the date of July 6th. Let's talk about this. Is this the actual date that you need to be out of here by? Oh, 100%. Okay. Well, we looked at what we could do for you, and we are very comfortable at $450.
$25,000 less than the other guy that was there.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. So that's when things got pretty uncomfortable.
You gotta stay quiet for a while.
Yeah.
After
So
you
I
say-
offered the 450. Aaron doesn't say a word. I don't say a word. We just 100% on them. And then the husband, go ahead and do what the husband was doing. He got very fidgety and he was very nervous.
Kinda, I don't know. He like leaned back and he was asking his wife like, "Oh man, does that work for you, hun?" Like they kept trying to bounce it back and forth between each other, seeing who's gonna answer and say yes, who's gonna say
She
yes.
was putting it on him. He was putting it on
her,
her.
and-
So then they said, well, why don't we go for a walk? And I look at Aaron. I was like, thinking, wait, they're going to leave their house to go on a walk?
Right.
We should give them some time in their own house. Let's go on a walk. I said, okay, you know what? Aaron and I we'll go on a walk. We'll look at some of the houses in the neighborhood. We'll give you some time. So now we leave once again.
Yeah, 2 times.
So, and the problem this time is we just offered $25,000 less than the guy that was there.
Right.
And the husband still had the guy's business card in his hand. Closed the door, and Aaron's freaking out again. Why are we leaving the house? They have the husband. They have the guy's business card. They could call him right now. What are we doing?
So you take Aaron to a gas station.
It wasn't
again.
just me,
He changes.
man. It was you too. He was quieter,
it was
but I
very
was
risky.
like,
It was very risky. The moves that we made were very risky. So
Right.
we walk. We come back in, sit down, very comfortable once again. They don't mention the 450. We don't mention the 450. And we get to a point where we agreed again on July 6th. So we're sitting there, and I said, Aaron,
go ahead and write it up.
Go ahead and write it up. So
July
he writes it up.
6th.
Yep, July
Made sure
6th.
that I wrote out that date. Didn't say write it up at 450. Didn't say write it up at 470. Because the way that the conversation was going when we got back, there's this weird feeling and there's this comfortable kind of atmosphere in a house. Once you get a deal signed and you've built rapport and the thing's gone great, you're laughing and you guys are friends now, and there's just this massive relief that comes into the space. And that's how our conversation was. So we had that kind of atmosphere before it was even signed. And so that's when we were both kind of feeling it, and that's when Mike said, go ahead and write it up, July 6th. And I wrote it out, 450. Nobody said, wait, stop, don't. And we just went through, and I had the wife sign it first because she was kind of being the one that was holding out a little bit. So I said, you get to do the honors here. And she had a couple questions during, but we got it all worked out and went
So we ended up getting it signed at 450.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. Go back to when we had 12 minutes, and he wanted 470, she wanted 500. We had 12 minutes. The only way at that moment to get it signed was to either pay them 470 or above, and to now force the issue.
Right.
We decided to, in this case, back off. Then we came back and offered $20,000 less than when we had left because we said we're going to figure out how to do 470. We offered 450, $20,000 less than our first offer, and $25,000 less than the guy that was just there.
The fact that you guys verbally had a 470 agreement in your head when you left, and the fact that that guy came in at 475, I'm guessing they probably said, hey, somebody just left and they offered us 470. So the guy probably threw $5,000 on top of it.
Yep.
And went from there. So
Exactly.
you guys locked it up, you got the contract, you headed out, and I know this video is going to be a little longer because I want to fast forward to what time last night. So you guys got back around 5. You called me maybe 6 o'clock right in there, and we're talking, telling me the story a little bit, and I'm like, damn, that's a good appointment. And then this morning, Mike comes in, oh my God, having such a bad day already. And I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
All right, so last night something happened with this appointment. So let's hear your side of what happened.
So when we left, we were part of the family. They're offering stuff for my son and all the, just great stuff, right? Just 100%, this thing's good to go. We don't have to worry about any of these other guys trying to come and give higher prices. They already took a lower price with us. We're not worried. Get back, get home. It's probably 7:30. Aaron starts blowing me up. Mike, Mike, we have a big problem. John's on the phone right now, and that other guy sent him a contract at $480, and it's in his email right now for a DocuSign, and he's saying that his wife won't let him leave $30,000 on the table. What are we going to do? I said, all right, Aaron, call him on three-way. So now here's the problem with this is Aaron calls him on three-way, but I have the damn contractor at my house, and I can't get rid of him because it's like 7 o'clock already. So now I say, guys, well, we have the seller and Aaron on the phone. I say, guys, you got to give me a minute. So I put them on mute and on speakerphone so I could hear but not talk. So I talked to my contractor. So they're talking for 10 minutes without me.
Yeah.
And it's kind of going back and forth everywhere, up and down. So I had to interject and say, hey, look, I'm still on this call, and you guys need to wait for me to be done because we're not getting off this call until we figure this out. Put it back on mute for another 5 minutes, whatever it was. Get on the phone with them. So what is going on? Well, my wife will have my nuts if I leave $30,000 on the table. I said, okay, well, here's where we're at, John. The contract is already signed. This is a done deal. We've already opened escrow.
Right.
Okay. There's no reversing that now. But here's the problem, and this is where I feel bad for you, John, is that guy that you said was lacking the experience and lacking the confidence. He, right now, is being a snake and a slime ball, and he's putting you into a position where you are going to then be in trouble, right? There's
big trouble.
Big trouble. Two things here going wrong, and this guy is now doing that to you. And the problem that I have with it, John, is he's throwing fake numbers out there and just keeps going up in price to get you to sign, even though you've already signed and sold the house. He knows that. So, of course he's going to throw fake numbers at you.
Right.
Now, you could try to go down that path, but it's not going to be good for you. It's not going to be good for him. And if something goes south, he doesn't care. He'll just walk away from it.
Yeah.
So let's, to fill everyone in on what he's kind of talking about, to break that down real quick. So if a seller signs a contract with one party, so that seller signed with us. Now this other guy knew that they signed with us, and that's why he keeps going up in price. So he sent them a DocuSign knowing that the seller already signed with us. So at that point, he's interfering with our contract.
Right.
And if for some reason we end up in having a problem with the seller, he is actually liable for our damages. So he is basically, it's tortious interference that he has with our contract. I'm not an attorney. This is how we do things within my office. However, on the seller side, since the seller signed to sell with us and that contract was fully executed, now, if the seller signs a contract with the next person saying, oh, SJO can just go away, that seller has now committed fraud. Again, not an attorney. This is how we do it. The seller committed fraud. They signed two contracts to sell the exact same house, right? He would have to try to cancel one first prior to signing another contract. So Mike's in the position now where, did the seller sign? Did the seller not sign with this other person? So what happened next?
And luckily he didn't sign at that point. It was really hard originally it was a hard sell because we're up against a stack of investors. We're up against a guy who's going to throw these massive numbers out there to get them to bite when we didn't want to pay $470, right? It was too high, so we had to get them lower, and we did at the appointment. But now we're up against the guy literally is leaving $30,000 on the table by not taking this other offer. And that is the hardest thing to get around because he thinks now he's throwing 30 grand away when I think it's a fake offer and it won't go through anyhow. Talk very calmly with him, very fast, and hit him hard with a lot of facts to scare him away from going with the other guy. And he said, look, we haven't signed it. We're going to email him back and say we're already in contract. We're not moving forward with you. You need to back off. And we'll move forward, Mike, and we'll get this thing done. And now in the process of that, I'm committed to getting a big piece of furniture from them. But it is what it is. So we're moving forward at the 450, and it should be a fairly decent sized spread for us in Orange County, which is very nice, but very stressful. Very stressful.
There's one little part that I want to add about this phone call. When he called, he kept on saying, my wife this, my wife that, my wife this. 10 minutes into the call, she started chiming in. So he was putting this on her, saying that she's going to get mad and have his head if he doesn't do this. However, he's making it seem like she's not there right now, but she's controlling the situation so that he's not the bad guy. But she was right there with him the whole time. So whenever somebody's trying to do that or put some sort of interference in the way like that, it's usually not the case.
Yeah,
so we didn't even address that. We just moved forward.
And that's the thing. So as a sales and acquisitions guy, you could easily take the wrong bait. And we've perfected not taking the wrong bait, and that's how we're able to get these types of deals. Now, we got it signed at the appointment, same day, with stacks of investors, and another guy offered $25,000 higher. And it all came down to the rapport, the trust, and the confidence. That's why they went with us, and that's why they loved us.
Yep.
Let's do that again. Rapport, trust, and confidence. So that is so true with any appointment because the seller has to trust you. They trust you by building rapport. They're confident with you by building rapport. It all circles around rapport, all of it, because if you don't build rapport and you go into an appointment, your goal is to go in and talk about the bathrooms. Oh my God, this is so shitty. I got to remodel this. The kitchen, oh my God, how do you even cook in this shithole? You can't do that because if you do that, the seller does not respect you. You're talking to the seller, building rapport. That's your goal through these appointments. So this sounds like it's going to be a pretty good deal, and we'll do a deal review as this kind of comes around and we get the property assigned. Maybe it's a real good one. We'll take it down ourselves. We don't know yet. So we'll find our direction on it, but you guys did a damn good job on this appointment.
Aaron did a great job.
Thank you.
Hey.
So what I want to point out for him and all the other acquisitions reps out there is he didn't jump the gun and he actually followed the process. Yes, he brought me into it, but together then we followed the process and actually got it $20,000 cheaper by making the decisions that we made.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
phenomenal job as a team, and for anybody that's interested to learn how we do this, hit us up, man.
Mm-hmm.
The REI Masters, this is what we teach, this is what we train. Hit us up on social media, email, call, text, DM, I don't care what it is, but we want to hear from you guys. This is our passion to do this kind of stuff. There's no better feeling. And yesterday, we went from the highest of the highs getting this contract to then the lowest of the lows when they're trying to back out to saving it again. So a lot of fun in this business, a lot of money in the business. I know how to teach it. You know how to teach it. And we just want to get this out. We want to share this with everybody, man.
Yeah.
I'm so passionate about this stuff.
So the REI Masters is going to be the first interactive sales training experience. And when I say interactive, you're not going to be sitting, taking notes, watching a PowerPoint presentation. You are going to be role-playing. You're not going to be in a room with 200 people. It's going to be a small, intimate group setting. And we are going to be spending time role-playing back and forth. Should we call live sellers? Let's call live sellers.
Yeah.
We're going to call your leads from the room. We're going to try to help you close these. We're going to
That'd be
direct
dope.
you on how to close these. Aaron talks about putting a phone on mute. You are going to mute your phone while you're talking to a seller while we give you direction. We are going to help you guys get to the point where you guys become the top sales rep either in your company or the company you're working with. Make sure you guys go to www.thereimasters.com. Make sure you check us out. Be in that room before your competition does. We'll talk to you later. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you click here or here to check out my other videos on wholesaling real estate.